Hello, welcome back to Election Time News. You want to start political summations? Paul reviews non-partisan predictions, views, and compilation of other political forecasters. So, the Electoral College finally confirmed that Donald Trump has in fact won the 2024 presidential election. Just 2 days ago, there were no unfaithful electors, so it was 312 to 226. And with that, this means that all of the votes that were counted are officially confirmed, which means that there's no last-minute changes, even if they technically wanted to. So at this point, it is now safe to go through and do full analyses of everything, as these are the final results and they will not change anymore. So, if you like content like this, make sure to subscribe to the channel down below. I will continue making content. We'll be starting on 2025 elections. There are 3 House districts that will be up, done by vacancies for Trump's cabinet positions, as well as other positions for his presidency, as well as 2 governorship races. Those are going to be in Virginia and New Jersey, including the contested Virginia governorship, where there is a relatively Democratic state with a Republican governor that only won by around 1 point in 2019. So it's an interesting one to watch. Not going to be all too much. I might start getting into some state House and Senate races, depending on how things go from here. And I'll probably also be going into some very future predictions as well, and see how things unfold. But of course, it's going to be very preliminary and mainly situational, keep a wide scope of things. But to start things off, basically what happened on November 5th was nobody showed up to vote for Kamala Harris. There were about, I believe, 4 to 5 million less votes for the Democrat than there were in 2020. And it meant that she lost all of the swing states, as well as having way reduced margins in tons of states. Something interesting that I'll get into later is how she compares to Hillary Clinton, but again, I'll get into that in a little bit later. First off is some of these states, especially ones that I find interesting. So first off, the state that she lost the most in from 2020 is going to be the state of New York. Now, what happened here was huge drop in margins in the New York City region. That's going to be, Queens, Bronx. They're more along, New York's range, which, she had a 419,000 vote lead. But comparing that to Biden, he probably had close to about 90% in all 4 of these. So that definitely would have hurt her margins. We're going to check exactly. Then it was 44, 54, 73, and 66. So if we cross-check this here, then we can see that Trump gained 20 in Queens, 11 in Kings, 10 in New York, and 21 in the Bronx. That is a huge gain right there, 21 in the Bronx. So, interestingly, Yates County, Tompkins County, and Hamilton County, Harris did better than Biden. But she did worse literally everywhere except for Nebraska's 1st congressional district, which is the perfect demographic for what is moving towards the Democratic Party. It is somewhat rural suburban / ex-urban white populations, which are what is going towards the Democrats at this point in time. So she did 2 points better than Biden did in that area. But other than that, she did worse everywhere, especially in New York and also in New Jersey. 10 points worse than Biden. Literally did worse in every single county, especially these ones right around New York City. So, 2.3. The lowest loss that she had in the state of New Jersey was 2.3 from Hunterdon County. The rest of it was very concentrated, especially right around, Hudson, New Jersey, which is essentially part of New York City. That 18.5 point loss, 19.5 in Passaic County. So the sharp drops here were definitely detrimental to her numbers here. She did still end up winning the state. Of course, she won it by 5.9, but that is a way lot worse than any Democrat has done in a long time. She did win New Hampshire as well. Some more development in these red counties. Rockingham flipped back, I believe. And now for the interesting ones, we have, of course, the swing states in Wisconsin. This was the closest swing state. It has continued its streak of going for a candidate by under a point. If I believe that Obama is the only exception for that. It went by 7 in 2012, by 14 in 2008, but then under a point for Kerry, under a point for Gore, and Clinton was 10, 4.4 for him the first time, and then Dukakis 3.5, and then Reagan by 10. So it started in 2000, and then kept through 2004. Broke for 08 and 12, but then went back in 2016, 2020, and now 2024. So it appears to be a very not moving state. It definitely, it was within 30,000 votes. And so this was probably mainly due to Racine and Kenosha County, of course, moved quite a bit to the right. Both of them were by a 6.2 point margin, just about 6,000 votes. Ozaukee County, Waukesha County, Milwaukee didn't show out as much, 178,000 votes. You can look at this, 316,000 votes out of there. It doesn't have direct numbers on there. Door County did go blue again. So again, this election cycle was the election cycle that ended a lot of bellwethers. Door County in Wisconsin, no longer a bellwether, as it went 2.2 points for Harris, yet, of course, she lost the state. The last bellwether county in the entire country is in Washington. Clallam County went 8 points for Harris when she obviously lost the election by quite a bit. It had gone for the winner for quite a few elections here. It went for Biden in 2020, for Trump in 2016, Obama in 2012 and in 2008, Bush in 2004 and in 2000, Clinton in 1996 and in 1992. And then before that, we don't have any information on any of the counties on Jackson Jude anymore. But so it was the last bellwether county, and it did fail this cycle. And additionally, interestingly enough, all of the bellwether counties inside of Pennsylvania held, those being Northampton and Erie. Northampton went by 1.8 and Erie by 1. Northampton being the closer of the two, which was only a 1/10 of a point off. And I believe in 2020, it also was much closer, 1.2 and 0.72. So, however, of course, there was quite a few gains made in Ohio and Iowa. Those did hit double digits. Montgomery did just barely stay blue. It flipped for Biden, and it did decrease a bit, probably quite a bit less reporting out of Cuyahoga, Franklin, Hamilton counties as being the main cities. The trio cities, Cleveland, Columbus, and Cincinnati, I believe not in that order. Then we go to Michigan. This one was interesting because it went the least for Trump in 2016 and the most for Biden in 2020. But that, it was to the right of Wisconsin. And that was mainly due to decreased turnout in Wayne and Washtenaw counties. These were especially Wayne and Oakland counties. Washtenaw is the secondary outside of Detroit here. But 537,000, 419,000. This is just a few thousand votes shy of 1 million votes for Kamala Harris right here in the Detroit region. If you add on Washtenaw, it's more than 1 million votes. But it gets swarmed out by the rest. So the question is, do you end up getting these votes that you need out of the Detroit region? It did not come out enough. The multiple different groups of people decided to not show up for Kamala Harris, and it completely cut her out in the Detroit region, giving Donald Trump a strong victory in the state of Michigan over a point. And then in Pennsylvania, it actually was the most right-leaning this cycle, with even Bucks County flipping by literally 291 votes. Erie County by 1,400, Monroe County flipping by 669 votes. So Monroe County flipping is quite a surprise, considering that it went for Biden by 6.5 points. Bucks only went by 4.5. Erie by 1. So Monroe County flipping. That didn't even happen in 2016. I believe Monroe went to Clinton by 532 votes. Oh, hey, look at that. It does show me votes. Look at that. Okay, so then we actually can do comparing numbers. So, looking here again in Milwaukee, 316,000 votes there out of Milwaukee. But now, if we look here, 316,000, Biden got 317,000. So, it wasn't too much of a decrease. But then here, we're looking at 260,000 votes right there out of Madison. And then for Kamala Harris, 274,000. So, that's a bit of a decrease. Of course, Wisconsin was the state where it didn't really drop as much. It's probably going to be decreased support in the rurals more than anything. But in Michigan, it's going to be those cities. It's going to be 537,000 there in central Detroit, and here 597,000 for Biden. So that's a 60,000 vote deficit. And considering the fact that Biden won the state by 3 points, that's probably only, 60,000 votes, 70,000, 80,000, somewhere in there. Probably right under 100,000 votes. 60,000 is already over halfway done. So then once you add in the fact 437,000 and then move that down to 419,000, then that's another 25,000 votes gone. So then you just add in just a small amount of discontent in the rest of the region that ends up dropping out your votes elsewhere, then it's completely gone. So the same sort of thing is also true in Philadelphia. This is definitely another show-out issue. 568,000 votes for Kamala Harris. 598,000 compared to 603,000. That's not too big of a drop, but, Montgomery County, the third largest in the state, that went down by a few thousand there. And then Allegheny County, 429,000 compared to 420,000. So the main cities in Pennsylvania weren't really the issue. The issues were these suburban regions on the eastern part of the state, as well as over here. And, with 29.2, 44.5, 53 compared to 37, 41, 50. These other regions definitely shifted very hard to the right there. So, the comparing, Harris actually did do better in the very central regions, but they were already basically maxed out. What happened here was Pike County, Monroe County shifted the hardest to the right in the state of Pennsylvania, but this is what really hurt. Trump plus 4.7, Trump plus 3.1, Trump plus 3.5, Trump plus 4.5, Trump plus 2.7, Trump plus 4 in the southeastern part of Pennsylvania, which is where most of the population of the state lives, as well as over here, 0.008, which isn't really too consequential. But then also this western board over here. Quite a few people live in Beaver County, Washington County, Westmoreland County, and all of those did shift a bit to the right. So even Center County, looks like less college students did end up showing out. So the young population not showing out for Kamala Harris is another big takedown for her, as well as them voting more to the right than ever. So all of these combined did end up giving Kamala Harris a very hard time, especially in Pennsylvania, which made it vote 3 points to the right of where it did in 2020. Wisconsin voted 1.5 points to the right, North Carolina 2, and completely undid Arizona's shift to the left for Joe Biden, 5.8 points to the right, especially in Maricopa County, which moved 5.8 points to the right. My apologies, I did not see this coming. It was a huge drop in turnout here, so I think that this election was weird in that it really was just about an issue of turnout for the Democratic Party. So I think it's an issue of motivation, and unless the Democrats can figure out what's going on and get their voters motivated to turn out, which they obviously did not get for Harris, then if things go as they continue seeing, we will not then have a President Vance. So with quite a few issues there, that's of course amazing just for the Republicans. But looking here again at our results, now here's the interesting thing. Looking at how Kamala Harris compares to Hillary Clinton, She does much worse in California, 10 points worse. She does 12 points worse in Florida, which is the biggest change between the two, and 10 points worse in New York. Now, she does better in Montana, Wyoming, South Dakota, and Nebraska's 3rd district by marginal amounts, right? Nominal amounts, only a few hundred votes. She does better. She has the most improvement in Nebraska's 1st district, which is, again, the most left-trending demographics in the entire country. But she also does better in some of these regions over here, a little bit better in Virginia, a little bit better in North Carolina, a little bit better in West Virginia, interestingly. Better in Maryland and Delaware. And, of course, worse in the Rust Belt Trio, as she lost them by a bit more, did way worse in Illinois. But interestingly, she did 2 points worse in the state of Arizona. So either Trump did something amazing in the state of Arizona, or it was just moving to the left for a bit and it is moving back towards the right where it once was, which is definitely a possibility. She did better in Georgia, which was a more of a success story than Arizona, especially in a lot of these counties outside the Atlanta region. 12.5, 17, 20 points better than Clinton did. So she outperformed Clinton in quite a few regions. She did worse in a lot of the rurals, though. So it appears that, that definitely had some effect on how well she did in the state. But she still overall did better because of those gains in the urban regions. Looking on Pennsylvania, she did a lot better in the central rurals, as they have moved a little bit to the left, although not strongly. And much worse in Philadelphia, though, as the urban regions have been moving towards the right as of late. And then, of course, looking at New York, it's going to be completely red down here in the central New York City, but also bluer throughout these more suburban and rural regions. And that's more going to be the story across the country. Now, Colorado is the most left-trending state in the entire country. It's going to be the entire western chunk is going to be blue here. And I'm actually surprised that Trump did better, that Clinton did better than Harris here in Utah, but it probably has to do with something about McMullen kind of being a spoiler candidate in the state of Utah. And then, of course, doing worse in Ohio, in Iowa, in Texas. Donald Trump this cycle absolutely reset any hopes of a blue Texas for the next while, unless this is a one-off election, which is, of course, again, possible. But as of right now, it does not look hopeful for a blue Texas. She did better in Collin and Denton counties, worse in Dallas. A little bit better in Travis County, better in Williamson, but this deep, deep red all across the deep Latino demographics of the Rio Grande Valley, especially Starr County, Texas. This is the success story of the Republican Party. 76 points toward Trump from 2016. So that is the success story right there. Starr County was, I believe, somewhere around 80% for Clinton, and Trump won it with about 55% of the vote or so. Hidalgo, Cameron, Kennedy, all of these are very deep red. Some of them above 50, Starr being 76. And then you have that counteracted by the cities, but this is so large, and they have large enough populations that it does end up actually being enough to move Texas to the right by 5 whole percentage points, including, all of the red all throughout these rurals throughout here, including in Lubbock and I can't find Amarillo. It did get worse. Even in the county that has her name, she did 7 points worse than Hillary Clinton did in 2016. So this is really interesting to look at. If anyone is curious, the website is map.jacksonjude.com. But again, she really did underperform what basically anyone had. She underperformed in ways that people didn't expect. That's for sure. I don't think anyone really expected a huge underperformance in Showout. if anything, there were quite a few people who did get the election results pretty close to right, and I applaud them for that. I was not one of them. But this might be a one-off time, or this might be a new trend that we will be seeing with a lack of motivation for the Democratic Party to show out, which will definitely have repercussions, which I will be getting to in future videos. So thank you all so much for watching. Make sure to subscribe if you have not already. If you like this video, do like it down below so that I can know. And thank you all so much for watching. Have a fabulous rest of your day.